Hello, everyone.
लोकांचं मागणी अशी होती आमच्या सदस्यांची की शिवसेना बाळासाहेब कनेक्ट नहीं करने वाला था.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Today, I welcome you to this wonderful session on Six Sigma with my colleague Mayur. So I can see there are participants who are joining in from all different parts of world, all different walks of life. So maybe we wait for just one more minute before we go live and before we start. So let's wait for one more minute. So welcome everyone. I request everyone to please be on mute unless and until if you have something to speak or ask during the session. So right, yeah. So now that everybody is here, let me start this wonderful session. My name is Akash Porse. Along with me, my colleague Mayur Shinde, who is with me, who would be with me during this entire session, where we'll be talking about Six Sigma and how it is applicable to the current world, to the current different walks of life, different domains. We'll try and touch upon all different facets of quality. But then as we are talking about quality, let me talk about this particular session, which would be the curtain raiser to the world of Six Sigma. Now, first of all, let me tell you that we have participants from all different walks of life, different geographies. There are more than 15 countries who are registered for this particular session. I'm sure many of them would be joining during the course of this particular session. So today we'll be talking about, of course, we'll be talking about the history of Six Sigma. We'll be talking about how Six Sigma is relevant in current world when it comes to operational excellence. I'm sure Mayur would also be talking about few of the use cases, the detailed philosophy of Dmac approach. And of course, we'll be also open for Q&A session as we conclude this particular session. Now, before I jump onto the actual session, there are a few things that I would want to share with all of you. One is, of course, we'll be having a quick introduction to the organization, where we'll be talking about what Faber Infinite is about, and also we'll be talking about why we are talking about Six Sigma today. So what I'll do is, if you have any questions, any thoughts during the course of the session, feel free to raise your hand or type it into the chat box, and we will take up those pointers. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen and I will talk about Six Sigma. Let me start this particular session. I hope my screen is visible, Mayur.
Yes.
Let me go to the full screen mode. Yeah. So when we are talking about Six Sigma, and as an organization, Faber Infinite, which is into this domain of growth opportunities, where we constantly work with our client teams on continual improvement. So that is this subject of Six Sigma or quality management is something which is very close to our hearts, which is inherent in any and every offering that we have. But then as we proceed further, and when we are talking about quality today, what if I tell you quality is not an order winning criteria anymore? How many of you agree with me when I say that quality is not an order winning criteria anymore? Today, when I'm privileged to talk to all of you, all quality enthusiasts on Saturday afternoon in India, and of course, different geographies are in different time zones on this Saturday. But then when we are talking about quality today, quality is not an order winning criteria anymore. I would say it is an order qualifier. So today, if we have to survive in this particular world, quality is given, and you cannot win any order or any customer if you say or mention that I am offering a quality product or I am offering a quality service. Quality is something which is given. And today is such a time when we are talking about that quality is such a comprehensive and must element. And that's why this particular subject of Six Sigma, which is very core and close to quality, is very relevant. So when I'm talking about this, let me start with a very simple yet powerful correlation when we are talking about why quality is an order qualifier. And I would want all of us to look at this particular subject with few examples. Of course, there are use cases that we'll be talking about from different professional setups. But today, when we analyze where we are living in this world of hyperactiveness, where somebody can pick up the phone and order, say, as simple as food via mobile delivery app. So if we are talking about food delivery, let me talk about this particular aspect of why quality is an order qualifier and not order winning criteria. So whether that is India, where we have the likes of Zomato or Swiggy, or whether we are talking about countries like Kenya, where we have Jumia or the Uber Eats of the world. And mind you, I've not been hired to promote their services, but then it's just that I'm talking about today when everybody is used to this. So what we were doing is we were identifying different customer segments and who might be availing their services. So it's like if I were to talk about a student fraternity who's ordering food online, of course, what they're looking at is a quality product, quality food, but at a price which is suitable to their pocket. Something similar if we extend this to families, say families like my family. Whenever we order, there are different preferences. Somebody wants, say, my daughter wants to eat pizzas and pastas, and somebody at family, they would want to have traditional food. So that's where customization is a concern for families. If you are talking about professionals, working professionals who are also party to this particular session, quality is something what you would be expecting, but what is order winning criteria is the delivery time, the speed, how sooner it's going to be delivered to you. If we go and extend this to another segment, the food connoisseurs, of course, quality is something what they look at. They would also be looking at customization. But then for them, the winning criteria would be the high quality taste or the presentation or the entire experience per se. So it's like in today's world, if we extend this to any situation, quality is something which is given. Right then, so with that, let me talk about when we are taking such an example of food delivery app, and when we are talking about the subject of Six Sigma, how can I not talk about this classic epic service by Mumbai Dabbawalas? For those who come from India, they are very much conversant with this concept of Mumbai Dabbawalas, where they pick up the lunch or the tiffin every day in the morning and deliver it to different offices for working professionals so that they get hot and warm food at the right time. Now, Mumbai Dabbawalas have demonstrated Six Sigma qualities when it comes to the efficiency as well as error-free deliveries of those tiffins to different addresses in Bombay, right from say north of Mumbai till south. And all of that is done without any app, any technology. All of that is done with simple yet powerful color coding numbers, which are easy to read by these illiterate or less educated dabbawalas, and still ensure that those are quality deliveries without any errors. And I'm sure Mayur today is going to talk more about the details of Six Sigma. But then let me talk to you when we are talking about Six Sigma. For people who are new to Six Sigma, we are talking about the opportunities or the errors permitted as per the Six Sigma numbers is 3.4 defects or errors per million. So I'm talking about that level of accuracy and that level of quality. And of course, here what they are talking about, even 3.4 is much higher number when it comes to the errors. They are not used to that kind of numbers. So the errors, the chances for error is 0 as per them. Now that when we are talking about different situations, let me talk to you about this one very classic, wonderful movie by Brad Pitt, which was released in 2011, which is called as Moneyball. And I welcome and encourage all of you to watch this movie because it talks about this classic example of how statistics, how analysis, how identifying different criteria and parameters, even in sports, is applicable for a winning performance. So I'm sure we are going to talk about more examples to relating to our professional lives. But then here was a very classic movie. Of course, Brad Pitt is in the news for all different purposes. I'm not going to talk about that now. But then this particular movie was classic, which talks about how quality analysis was relating to baseball and how they ended up winning that particular tournament. And this particular thing is based on a real story. So why baseball? All of these concepts are equally applicable when it comes to tennis, golf, or football, or if we talk about cricket as a religion in India, it is even applicable in cricket. We can discuss on all of the subjects in due course. Today, what we'll do is I'll quickly take 1 more minute and introduce organization Faber Infinite. Many of you are already aware about Faber Infinite, but for those who are new to Faber Infinite, I'll just take 1 minute and talk about Faber Infinite, which is into this domain of continual improvement, operational excellence, change management, where we work with our clients hands in hand in terms of improving all the operational parameters. Of course, quality is one of them. So far, we would have been working with more than 250 plus clients, 10,000 plus projects. And when it comes to sectors, there would be plenty of sectors that we would have touched, right from engineering to pharma to service to so on and so forth. I'm sure there are many participants from different industries. We'll definitely pick up examples from your domain as well. When it comes to our presence, we are present across 10 countries with offices in India, where we are Ahmedabad, Baroda, and Pune. And we have 3 representative offices outside the country, that is Nairobi, Dubai, and Lusaka. And as I was mentioning, we have touched upon all different sectors, right from manufacturing, whether that is discrete or process, to commercial farms. There have been cases where we have extended this concept of Six Sigma to commercial farms, flower farms, to improve the yield and so on and so forth. So there are plenty and plenty of such success stories that we'll try and touch upon. Just one last thing before we jump to Six Sigma and I hand it over to Mayur. So this is what you see when any organization needs to transform. What you see on the screen is the organizational transformation framework by Faber Infinite. And in that, one of the pillars or one of the tools in under operational excellence is Lean Six Sigma, which is what we are going to talk about. So it's a vast ocean of continual improvement tools. One of the tools, one of the framework philosophy is Six Sigma, what is the one that we are going to discuss today. So with that, I hand it over to Mayur. All yours, Mayur. And of course, we will continue. We'll take it up from here.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Akash sir. So just let me share my screen. Can you make me the host so that I can share the screen?
Got it now?
Yeah. So just confirm that is it visible?
Yes, it is visible. We are good to go.
Yeah. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. So we are here to talk about Six Sigma now. So before jumping into the Six Sigma, first we will talk about what are the various problem solving techniques which we have, right? So you can give answers, or we will be having that interactive session right now. So you can put up your answers related to any questions in a chat box so that we can have that particular thing of an interaction. So you can put up the various problem solving techniques you use during any kind of problem solving in your work area, right? Okay. So let me jump to the various problem solving techniques which has been used in the world. So these are, you can see here. First is just do it. Means whenever you want to do any kind of improvement and you know actually what is happening around, you just do it, that particular improvement, and get the results from it, right? Then another factor comes is a Kaizen. So what is Kaizen? Kaizen is actually a continuous improvement. So when any kind of particular process, whether it may be a manufacturing or whether it may be any kind of business related or commercial related or any kind of design related, there are different kinds of improvements which any employee or any person can do with respect to their KPIs and with respect to their work area. Then comes PDCA. PDCA means plan, do, check, and act. So whenever you are going to do any kind of improvement, you first plan it, what should be done, then actually do it depending on your planning, then check whether it is effective or not, and accordingly then the sustenance can be ensured through act. Then comes quality circles. So quality circles are small group activities which are SGH in any kind of industry, which is corely focused on improving the quality or improving the service delivery, right? Then there are different projects which are going to happen around industry, which are the factors of project management. Then comes lean. Lean means lean manufacturing, in which the core focus will be on reducing the wastes. And then comes Six Sigma, in which there are two different aspects. One is Dmac and one is DFSS, also known as DMA DV, which we will be focusing in further presentation. So as we discuss these kinds of all problem solving techniques, first we need to understand how these techniques are getting selected to solve the problem, right? So whenever you are having now a problem in your work area, you need to focus on these things which I will be discussing further. So first, for any kind of problem, there are two different kinds of solutions. One as a countermeasure, as a counter action to solve the problem. And second is breakthrough or a proactive approach so that that problem will not occur in the future, right? So for that, if we see the countermeasure as a reactive action, right? If the root cause of that problem is known to us, we have to just do it. We have to just eliminate root cause and get the results from it, right? Then for that countermeasure category only, if the root cause is unknown, means exact root cause is unknown, then we need to follow a structured approach of PDCA and we need to do the Kaizen through it, right? Then comes breakthrough, means we want to ensure that in future there will be no such kind of problem occurrence. So for that, if the root cause is known, then we need to follow the project management approach to solve the problem and to get the results from it. If root cause is related to waste in the system or root cause is related to non-value adding in the system, then we need to follow the lean methodology or lean manufacturing approach. And if root cause is derived through structured data analysis, then two factors comes as a new process or product and whether it is an existing process. If we are going to develop a new process or if we are going to develop a new product to solve the problem, then we need to have Six Sigma DMA-DV methodology or DFSS, Design for Six Sigma, which is morely applicable to research and development activities or engineering activities. And whether if we want to improve particular existing process or existing product which we already have, then we need to follow Six Sigma Dmac approach, right? So I hope you all understand this. So moving ahead, we will first look at the lean as a basic or base or foundation of the Six Sigma. So lean means eliminating the waste and keeping the process or keeping the product as an error proof, right? To maximize our customer experience. So considering waste, if we talk about waste, there are two kinds of activities happening around all of us in our work areas, which is VA and NVA. So VA means value adding activities and NVA means non-value adding activities, and we need to reduce the non-value adding activities to implement the lean. So now if we talk about VA and NVA, how to categorize or how to divide activities into VA and NVA, right? So whenever you are analyzing any process or whenever you are analyzing any kind of particular issue, we have to ask ourselves three questions, whether to consider or to confirm that whether that activity is value added or not. So those three questions are: is the customer willing to pay for the specific step? Does the step transform product or service? And was the step done first time correctly? So is the customer willing to pay for the specific step? Means if we are doing that particular process or if we are performing that process, whether the customer is really willing to pay or whether the customer is really paying for that particular step or process, right? Then does the step transform product or service? That means if that particular process transforms actual product or service which we are given to customer into one form into another, and whether the step has been done first time correctly, means whenever we are doing that activity or whenever we are performing that step, it should be done right at the first time. There should be no rework, there should be no any kind of repair, right? So if all the three tick marks are there as a right, then only that particular step is value adding. And if one of the answers from these three is no, then that step will not be considered as a value adding activity. It is actually a non-value adding activity which is hampering our effectiveness or the performance. So considering lean, you can see these pointers as lean manufacturing or any kind of improvement activity is not at all a magic wand, means we just wish it around and it will go on and it will improve automatically. No, this will not happen at all. And it is not also a diet program. It will not happen. That particular improvement will not happen overnight. We need to be patient about it. We should have patience and accordingly work towards the goal. Then it is also not a rocket science. It is a simple structured methodology which can be understood by any person with proper training and hands-on experience. Then it is not a system to reduce any kind of head count. So it is not related to manpower reduction or any kind of reduction. It is actually structured approach to solve the issues which people face in their day-to-day routine work, right? And first and foremost, I just want to clear this before the training. Six Sigma is not only related to factory. It is applicable and works for all kinds of segments, all kinds of sectors, and all kinds of work areas. Even it works in real life situation also. So we will be discussing about that in further presentation. And Six Sigma or lean is not a solution to any kind of performance or personal issue. It is actually the process driven approach, right? So jumping towards further, let's just talk about the history about lean. So in 1903, Henry Ford actually manufactured the first fuel engine car, that is Model A, right? And 5 years down the line, they introduced another Model T and established first assembly line. But that assembly line was actually a stationary line, or it was not a moving. Then in 1911, Frederick Taylor, which was the one of the first management consultant in the world, developed scientific management principles and derived a different problem solving techniques. And in 1913, Ford built first moving assembly line, actual moving assembly line right now, which we are seeing in different kinds of industries. Then in 1933, Toyota was founded, and subsequent to that, World War II happened. And because of that, Toyota suffered total post-war depression and strike. And to solve these kinds of issues which were happening around the world, then Edward Deming made and introduced the PDCA improvement cycle, and it has been made popular so that everyone can use it and everyone can solve their issues. Then Taichi Ohno finished actual Toyota production system derivation and defining and structuring it in 1970, which is the Bible as of now for the world for the lean manufacturing. And then in 1980, Motorola actually initiated the Six Sigma quality because they were suffering huge issue related to quality of their products. And subsequent to that, 4 years down the line, to total quality management, that is TQM theory, has risen from the world. And where Jack Welch, which was a CEO of General Electric, he created actually a Six Sigma and the Center of Excellence as a proper working function in his organization. And 2000 and onwards, continuous improvement, Lean Six Sigma, operational excellence strategies, which we are also offering and which all of us are doing and using it all around the globe, are continuously evolving year by year. So moving ahead, so considering lean, there are 5 principles related to lean or lean manufacturing. So we need to first identify what the customer values. Then we need to map our value stream depending on our various kinds of product portfolio, whether it may be a manufacturing setup or whether it may be a commercial setup, banking setup, or R&D setup. We need to see around the product portfolio and identify 2 or 3 hero products which are continuously contributing majorly in our total revenue generation, right? So depending on that value streams, we need to map that, analyze that. We need to create the flow and eliminate the waste in that total value stream so that the non-value adding activity can be eliminated. Also, we need to establish customer pull system, means instead of having producing or having doing the work, we need to have a pull system so that the demand driven total planning and operations can be done. And then we need to seek perfection also with the help of Kaizen. So to summarize this, we need to produce or we need to give service only related to what customer wants, only the quantity they actually want. Whenever they want, we should be able to provide it. and by doing the tasks that only add value to the system, right? So considering, as you must be aware that I am talking literally about waste. So actually what kind of wastes are there, right, in lean manufacturing? So there are 8 types of waste in lean manufacturing. There are, you must be aware about those wastes. There is a simple methodology to remember those wastes, which is a downtime, means defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized human potential, transportation, inventory, motion, and access processing. So first, let's talk about defects. So defects means whenever we are doing any activity, or whenever you are producing any product, or whenever you are giving any kind of service to the customer, if there is any kind of issue or problem occurs, and due to that you need to do any kind of rework or repair, that counts as a defect in your service or in your product, right? Then comes as overproduction. Overproduction means whenever your customer is wanting only 100 pieces or 100 documents, but you are producing 150 or 200. So after going 100 products or services to the customer, documents to the customer, there will be excess production which will be left at your site only, or left at your desk only. So that considered as a overproduction. Then comes is waiting. Waiting means whenever doing the activity, so for any kind of product delivery, there are number of stakeholders, right? There are number of departments, there are number of assembly lines, there are number of sections. So during this total process, whenever any function is particularly waiting due to previous function is not having completed the total task in time, that particular waiting is considered as a non-valuating activity for that particular function or workstation. Then non-utilized human potential. So whenever the person is doing any work, if he is expertise, if he or she has expertise in any particular segment, but he has not put in that segment to work, then actually a non-utilized of that particular potential is there. Means if particular person is well versed with welding, then we need to give him that work related to welding and upskill and diversify his experience and expertise with respect to training. But putting right people at right job is the task, and if it is not done, then it is actually a non-utilized human potential considered as a waste. Then transportation means moving material from one place to another, then another place to different locations. So moving material from different locations is actually a transportation waste. It does not add actually the value into the product, but it actually adds, it is considered as a non-valuating activity. Then the mother of all wastes is inventory. Whenever inventory gets piled up, stocks gets accumulated, it blocks the cash, it blocks the profit of the organization, because whenever the inventory gets piled up, that particular inventory considered as a cash block or a dead inventory, it is not being utilized and cash flow gets clogged. So inventory is also considered as a waste. And motion means moving from, so here is an interesting difference between transportation and motion. Transportation is moving material from one place to one location to another location, but motion means moving any particular person or moving any particular machine from one place to another. So that motion is considered as a non-valuating activity because customer does not pay for that motion, right? And then access processing. Access processing means particularly adding a feature into the product which is not asked by the customer or which is not a basic need of that particular product is access processing. So considering these are the different wastes in lean. Now coming towards Six Sigma. So Sigma is actually a Greek alphabet. Sigma also means in a statistical manner as a standard deviation, right? So what is actually Six Sigma? Six Sigma actually is a metric that demonstrates the quality level at 99.99967% of any kind of performance of the process. Right. Then it is also a benchmark process, or it is also a benchmark for any kind of product or process capability on a quality basis. whether it may be a manufactured product, fabricated product, or whether it may be a commercial product, whether it may be a service, or whether it may be a new product development. It is actually a benchmark to doing the right things. Then Six Sigma is also considered as a tool, which is a practical application of Dmac approach, means define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. It is also commitment to the customer to offer our highest quality product with reduced cost, so that customer delight can be and customer wow can be ensured. And Six Sigma means accuracy, and it also means low variation in our product, so that there will be no variation, and continuously we are producing identical products which are fulfilling the customer demand. Then moving further, Six Sigma is a management methodology. The core focus of Six Sigma is to increase the profitability, to reduce the variation, to reduce the defects, to reduce over processing, or to reduce any kind of waste in the system, so that cost to company will get reduced and profit will get increased automatically. And it involves the data collection and the analysis, which is a structured statistical analysis, to achieve three goals. The one of the goal is to reduce the defects in any process to less than 3.4 per million opportunities. Second goal is to eliminate wasteful practices, as we discussed about waste of total manufacturing or any kind of commercial setup. Then third is to delight our customers. So considering customers, please note that customers are not only our end user. Every process has customer as an internal customer as its subsequent process. So there are two different segments of customers. One is internal within the organization, and one is external outside of the organization. So delighting those all customers or all stakeholders is the goal of Six Sigma by fulfilling their present and future needs. And the ultimate goal is to reduce the ROI, return on investment, for the organization. So now we have to discuss about how actually that Six Sigma methodology has been evolved. In 1980, actually Motorola was producing their mobile phones, and during that particular competition, as Japanese were having a cutthroat competition with Motorola, Motorola faced a survival problem due to their quality issues and the product issues. And that particular situation is called as strategic point of inflection, right? So with respect to graph, I would like to explain to you that whenever any organization is going profits to profits year by year, there is some point in that organization's journey which is considered as a strategic point of inflection, where the profits or where the revenue of that particular organization starts hampering due to the competition in the market. And then that organization enters into the valley of death, where they are left with two choices: ignore the problem and do nothing, and subsequently in further time they will perish. But the second approach is recognize the problem, accept that issue, and take action against it, so that they can improve and they can then compete with their competitors. So Motorola chose that particular path B by recognizing the problem, and they started to take action, where father of Six Sigma, Will Smith, proposed a solution with a visionary leadership that they want to reduce the defects from 30,000 ppm to 3 ppm, but within next 8 years. So what actually Motorola did, they set the goal for 3.4 ppm, and they translated that journey into 10-fold improvement. That means every 2 years there will be a 10-fold improvement, and they will be reaching to 3 ppm in next 8 years from 30,000 ppm. So what actions actually Motorola has taken? So first action was strong emphasis on the training. Employee training and upskilling of their employees was the prime focus of Motorola. Then goals which were set through Six Sigma methodology, they actually translated those goals to each and every employee and announced them across the organization. Then they started focusing on employee training mandate. That means per year, per employee, there should be a training of 40 hours minimum related to their performance improvement, related to their quality improvement. And then they also signed executive bonuses to which are tied to quality improvement initiatives, means depending on the performance of the particular section or depending on the performance of the particular employee, there will be rewards and recognition mechanism has been put into the place. And last milestone was benchmarking the global scheme, means total customer satisfaction programs has been driven all across the Motorola organization. So now considering Six Sigma, first we need to understand what is the Sigma levels or in which level do we lie right now, right? So now consider you are considering diverse diverse sectors in audience. If whether you are a manufacturing sector, whether you are a food industry, whether you are a farms, whether you are a research and development or commercial sectors, now consider your process, service or product. Consider how much you produce in a month or in a year, and out of that, if your defect per million is 6,90,000, that means your defect percentage is 69, then you are at actually a 1 sigma level. Then if we improve further, if we improve 2 times, we will be going to 2 sigma level, that means 3.08 lakhs per million of the defects. Then if we again improve further to the 3 sigma level, it is actually 66,800 defects per million. That means 6.6% of defects, which is actually a below average of the world organization. Then average comes as a 4 sigma, which is actually 0.6%. That is 6,000 defects per million. And a world class achieved 5 sigma level is 5 sigma, that is 230 defects per million, that is 0.02% of defects. And the benchmark, worldwide benchmark is 6 sigma, which is 3.4 defects per million. That is actually a 80 times improvement from 5 sigma. So overall objective of the 6 sigma is achieve that 3.4 defects out of every million defect opportunities. That translates to 99.9997% of perfection, right? So moving ahead, this we have to see the significance of that 6 sigma with respect to different activities or operations. So whether that particular postman is there and he or she is delivering 3 lakh letters, among that 3 lakh letters, if he or she is missing deliveries of 300, that means he or she are at a 5 sigma level. And out of those 3 lakh, he or she is missing only 1 delivery, he is actually giving 6 sigma level of service delivery to the customers. Same goes with the computer restarts, which is a common life example of all of us, right? Whenever there are 5 lakh computer restarts are happening, if 500 computers are crashing during the restart, that means that computer company, that particular laptop manufacturing company having a 5 sigma level. But if they want to achieve 6 sigma or more, they need to ensure that out of those 5 lakh computer restarts, 2 or less than 2 crashes should be there. Same goes with banking section or commercial section, clearance of the checks in a week. So they need to ensure 1 or less than 1, that means 0 wrong clearance of the checks out of 2 lakh to ensure 6 sigma level. And same with airline companies, 60,000 baggages, then they need to ensure that not a single baggage gets lost in a week to achieve the 6 sigma level. So considering these different aspects or different examples, you can also think about everyday life example of 6 sigma. Now let me give you one interesting example. Consider yourself living in a society. That society is having 2 wings, 2 apartments, right? Every apartment has 14 floors. That means that has gone to the 28 floors. Then In each floor, there are 6 flats, right? That means total 168 flats or 168 houses are there in that particular society. Now consider one person, one person from each house or each home uses the lift, right? And that person using that lift for a 2 times in a day, means going upward and going downward, right? So that means 336 times that lift has been used in a day. Now convert that 336 times in a day to the month, then now convert that per month usage to the year. And if we consider average age of that society is 5 years, that means that lift has been used for 6 lakhs time in that 5 years, right? And now just think about your society and think about your apartment and your lift. Out of those uses, for how many times that lift has been gone into the servicing, or that lift actually failed to deliver its usage, right? So if we consider in a 5 year that lift has been serviced or failed only one time, that means it actually given us the result above 6 sigma level, right? So you can also correlate that to your day-to-day routine. One another miraculous example of 6 sigma or more than 6 sigma, I would say, is actually used by each and every human or each and every living thing on the world, which is actually heart. Now consider human heart, which beats 72 times per minute, gets converted into the day and gets converted into the year. It actually beats for 37 million times in a year. And if we consider global average population age, which is 31 years, that means on an average basis, every human heart has beaten that 1171 million times in his lifetime, its lifetime. And that means if even for a single time it gets failed, actual that human machine gets failed, right? So that means that kind of accuracy or that kind of perfection or that kind of sigma level has been achieved by that human heart. So you can correlate with your day-to-day life with respect to 6 sigma. So you can see that 6 sigma is not only related to any kind of product or service, or even not even for the research or development. It is actually a lifestyle to achieve the perfection, a lifestyle to ensure whatever the activity we are doing it perfectly right at the first time, right? So the fundamental objective of that 6 sigma is actually a process improvement and reducing the variation which is occurring inside the activity. And to do that and to ensure that, there is application of statistical tools, which is a structured approach for 6 sigma, defined approach for 6 sigma. And in that, as we had discussed about 2 things, which is Dmac, DMAIC, which is related to existing process or product. If that particular product or process is not meeting the customer specification, if we are having list of probable factors, means probable factors which are actually hampering our process or product, but we are not aware about exact solution, means where to actually pinpoint our work so that the result can be given. So in that case, Dmac approach has been used. And if we want to develop a new process or product, which is actually a new development methodology or research or development or engineering methodology during the new process or product development, DMADV is used. But the prerequisite of DMADV is whenever the particular product, existing product, has been optimized using Dmac and still not meeting the customer specifications. So if we consider this Dmac and DMADV, so in Dmac there are 5 steps, which is define, means defining the goals, defining the problem, defining the deliverables, and defining what we want to do. Then next step is measuring where do we stand right now, measuring the process, measuring the total business activity, measuring current performance, and also measuring the things or the measurement system which we are using during measurement. right? Then comes analyzing, means after deriving the current state, we need to analyze the what is happening actually, what is going wrong, what is actually hampering our process, and determining the exact root cause through structured analysis. And then after deriving the root cause, there will be an improve phase to improve the process by eliminating defects or issues which is present in our current system. And after improving and eliminating those issues, we need to also control so that the future occurrence of that particular issue will not be there. It will get eliminated. Then comparative to that, DMADV is a somewhat similar approach in first three steps. First, we need to define the project goals and deliverables. Then we need to measure the current systems and customer needs and the specification given by the customer itself for any kind of new development. Then we need to also analyze the process options, means what is actually going wrong with current process or current product, and then accordingly analyze what we can do in the new product or what we can provide in our service so that that issue will not get repeated. Then actually designing the process or product which will be meeting the customer requirements and needs, and then verifying that design performance which is actually ensuring the product or processes ability to meet the customer needs. So considering examples of Six Sigma, I would like to give you some examples related to different sectors. So considering first manufacturing sector, there are different projects related to Six Sigma, which is related to improving the customer service, improving the quality control of the processes so that the defects in the products or processes will get reduced. Subsequently, if defects gets reduced, rework and rejection will get reduced, and accordingly scrap rates will also get reduced, and it will improve the profit of the organization. It will also be applicable to maintenance sections to reduce the maintenance cost of the machines which are frequently getting into the breakdowns. Moving towards different sector, which is a research and development sector, whenever the new product has been designed to reduce that weight. Right now, today's world is actually a weight reduction weight, right? Everyone wants lightweight products to use. So to reduce the weight, what is actually hampering the weight of the product, the Six Sigma methodology can be adopted. Then increase the product durability. To increase the product tenure, Six Sigma methodology can be used. To reduce the turnaround time of the test request. Also to reduce or eliminate the defect or wasted time due to repeated design or rework in the design, particular Six Sigma approach can be used. It is also used in healthcare sectors to improve our patient safety, then medication errors to derive the correct medication for the correct disease, reducing the length of stays of the patients in the hospitals, reducing the risk of infections with respect to different diseases. For service sector, as similar to the manufacturing, improving the customer service is the prime importance. So improving that service, then reducing the time taken for processing the payments as in banking sectors, cost of credit card transactions, that reduction of that cost is also can be a project in Six Sigma. Then also reducing amount of time it takes to pay the bills is also can be a project of Six Sigma. And related to commercial farms also, means deriving the precise amount or exact amount of fertilizers which will give us the maximum benefit with minimum or optimized investment is actually a part of Six Sigma with respect to different design of experiments. Then reducing the truck waiting time during unload, means truck is continuously having a movement in the farms. So during that particular movement, whenever truck stops at any particular location during that unloading, truck gets into the waiting time. So reducing that time, that crop spillages, and deriving also planting rates with calculated structured approach can also be a project of Six Sigma. So now we will jump into the Dmac methodology, which is define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. So first we will talk about define phase, which is the first phase. This is the first phase of the total process, which includes defining the project through project charter, capturing the voice of customer, and having a SIPOC analysis of our process, right? So first is project charter. Project charter is actually a documented charter which is circulated through all stakeholders in the organization, which generally has problem statements, goal statements, potential issues and their mitigating actions, then business case, then support required from the different stakeholders, then KPI of that particular project and project action team. So now let's go one by one with these particular things. So first is business case. So what is mean by business case? Business case states the need of the project, means why should we do this project and what will be the monetary benefits. Business case actually a selling pitch of any project which will be presented to the leadership and which will be approved by the leadership team of any organization. Next is problem statement. Problem statement means actually the issue which is happening around in our particular organization for that process and the opportunity we can miss if we can generate significant business impact. Next is goal statement. Goal statement means it is actually a improvement percentage, means how much we want to improve and by when we want to improve, right? Then comes as a project scope. Project scope means location or plant or office, that particular business process, what kind of equipments are used for that process, start and end points of those process. So actually defining the boundaries of the project is actually project scope. Next comes the project team, means who are the team members, what are their roles and responsibilities, and how much time they will be dedicated to the project. And then comes as a project plan, means in the project charter itself, we need to ensure the timelines are being defined, and then further we will be following that project timelines. So now coming towards voices, for any kind of industry or any kind of organization, there are 4 types of voices. First is voice of business. Voice of business means what actually business is going into, whether it is making a profit, whether it is making a declining towards loss, or whether it is a stagnant process as of now. So what actually business is, means what is happening around the business is actually voice of business. Then voice of process means whenever we are focusing on particular process, what is the process capability of that process, what is actually the ability to deliver the results of that process is voice of process. Next is voice of employees. Voice of employees are the employee feedbacks from the organization, what actually employee feels about overall organization. And next and the most important is voice of customer. So in Six Sigma, we need to capture this voice of customer through interviews, through group studies, through surveys, right? So what actually customer demands, and voice of customer, that customer means not only external customer, again that customer can be an internal customer, which is the subsequent process of ours and it is getting hampered due to defect generated in our process. Then this voice of customer is actually what actually customers want, right? So customer wants quality, great quality product in optimized cost, with on-time delivery, with proper service and safety, and also in that corporate responsibility. So considering and capturing those factors related to quality, cost, delivery, service, safety, and corporate responsibility is the prime importance of capturing the voice of customer. And this is the crucial factor that we need to understand how customer define the value of our product. Then comes as a SIPOC. SIPOC stands for supplier of the process, input material or input of the process, actual process which is happening, then output of that process, and customer of that process, immediate customer, subsequent customer of that process. It is actually a high level map of the process. It helps to define overall boundary of the process or project with respect to first supplier and end customer. And this SIPOC also called as copies in some acronym. Now coming towards team roles and responsibilities. So see, in considering different Six Sigma projects, there are different team members in a project. First, there are some white or yellow belts, which are actually a part-time improvement members. They support green belts and they support in data collection on the Gemba itself at actual place of the process. They collect the data provided by the data collection template provided by green belts or superiors, and they help and support the green belts. Then comes green belts, green belt team member, which are also part-time team members of the Six Sigma project. They support black belts. They do the basic data analysis on the data collected by white and yellow belts, and they work within their areas so that they can improve their process. Then comes black belts. Black belts are totally focused on improvement projects. They train and coaches white, yellow, or green belts. They do the statistical data analysis, advanced statistical data analysis depending on the data captured or the data analyzed before on a basic level, and they can work across the functions of the organization. And then comes master black belts. Master black belts are actually full-time dedicated improvement initiative team leaders. They coach black belts to do the project. They are expert in statistical data analysis, and they also facilitate different kinds of company-wide issues related to process product quality. And then comes champions. They are actually the process owners on that particular, whether that process is being considered in a Six Sigma project. That process owners are considered as a champions, and they are actually the implementers of the solutions derived from different data analysis and root cause analysis. Now moving towards measure phase. Measure phase consists total selecting the measures of the measurement, then data collection planning, then operational definitions, and defining the baseline data. Where do we currently stand, right? So considering measure phase, first we need to understand what is data. So data is actually a facts or figures from which inferences or conclusions can be driven. So this data, why it is important? Because in quality, Mr. Deming said that in God we trust, all others must bring data. Because we only trust in God, rest all can bring data first, and then only the discussions can happen, so that it will be a fruitful discussion, right? So now considering data, we need to understand what kinds of data which we are talking about. So data is generally, first is qualitative. Qualitative data means a non-numerical data which describes the events, or which are the written documents, or which are related to the characteristic which cannot be measured or which cannot be quantifiable, like color or order, right? Then another factor comes as a quantitative data. So quantitative data again comes into the different segments. First is continuous data. That means it can be measured in digits. Examples are like height, 6 feet height, 5 feet height, 7 feet height, weight in kgs or pounds, in time, distance in meters or kilometers, in liters also, so that volume can be measured. And second one comes as a discrete data. That means non-measurable data which cannot be measured in digits. So that data can be counts as a count data, which is number of persons, which is number of defects, number of customer complaints, or number of chairs, which is not a continuous data, it is discrete data. And another comes in a discrete data is attribute data, means binary system, 0 or 1, male or female, yes or no, means objective. The question or the data can be answered in objective manner, then it is considered as an attribute data. And whenever we are doing any kind of improvement project or Six Sigma project, data are divided into two types. One is population data. Whatever we are producing or whatever we are producing as a documents or products, the total sample can be taken as a total population data. Or to check the quality, we can also randomly select some products or documents, and accordingly we can have a randomly selected data of a sample size, right? Now, considering measurement system analysis, first we need to derive whether our system is accurate or whether our system is precise. So you can see these 4 bullseye here. First bullseye shows that the shooter has hit the bullseye only one time, and the shooting or the target hit is spread across the total bullseye circle, right? That means that particular shooter is also having low accuracy because he or she has only hit the bullseye only one time, and also low precision. In second bullseye, the top right corner, you can see shooter has not hit the bullseye, but he has hit the target at specific location only. That means he or she is not having accuracy, but he or she is having particular high precision related to his shooting. Then third bullseye can show you that shooter is having high accuracy. That means he is shooting near to the bullseye, but precision is not there because he is shooting all around the bullseye. And fourth is high accuracy, high precision. So here, fourth bullseye is actually the ideal situation. This should be the target of any process. It should be accurate also, and it should be precise also. But out of other 3, generally, of course, first bullseye is not at all a advisable condition. We should definitely improve upon it. But if you asked me, out of these other two means low accuracy and high precision, and high accuracy and low precision, which condition is better compared to other, is actually a low accuracy, high precision, because where in that particular segment or in that particular bullseye, we can see that only one factor is hampering the total process, that means shooting process, and by correcting only that angle or posture of that shooter, he can hit the bullseye multiple times. That means he can ensure high accuracy and high precision with minimal efforts, whereas in high accuracy, low precision, he need to capture all types of data. He need to capture and analyze all types of data and his posture, his wind, that wind speed and all that. And there will be multiple factors on which he or she needs to work upon. So regarding total measurement system in our process, whether it may be a product manufacturing or whether it may be a banking segment or research segment, we need to first analyze our system, whether means where do we fall in these 4 bullseye segments, right? So for that, there is actually a process stability matrix. Means whenever you are having any process, there are upper and lower control limits. And if we are producing all the products within that lower and upper control limits, that means our process is in control. If we are producing out of the lower or control limits, that means that our process is not capable to produce within the control limits. Then we need to revise the total process, work upon it, analyze upon it, so that it can come in between the lower or upper control limits. Then comes the process which is actually total out of control, means it is producing haphazardly and we cannot predict the future of the process, right? So in this manner, let's see some examples of process stability. So this process is means having upper and control limits, target as an average of it. So all the readings related to process are within the control limits, are moving across it, and we can say that process is in control, right? Now consider another segment. In this segment, we can see that continuously there are trends in either directions, whether it may be increasing trend or whether it may be a decreasing trend. So if we observe this kind of trend in our analysis or in our data, then immediately we need to investigate the cause, because if we do not work or if we do not act on this, it will get out of control in further time, right? Then next is this process. You can see here readings of the process. 2 readings are very near to lower limit. It may be a lower limit or upper limit. Whenever you are having some reading or some output related which is very near to upper or lower control limit, and it has come twice in a time period, then we need to investigate the cause, so that if we if we do not investigate and act upon it, it will get out of control. Similarly, another process which is having continuous run of the readings of 5 readings above or below central line. So we need to investigate the cause of it also. Then next, it is totally erratic behavior, you can see, right? Means you cannot control or you cannot predict the future of this process, whether next reading will be towards lower control limit or whether it may be towards upper control limit. So this erratic behavior is totally unpredictable and we need to investigate the causes why this is happening. And next is total out of control process, because actually the reading has gone out of the upper or lower control limit. That means it is clear indication that our process is not in control. So we need to immediately investigate the cause, take the action upon the root cause and improve it. Next comes is analyze phase. So in analyze phase, this is the crucial phase in total Six Sigma project, where we need to analyze the data which has been captured. We need to analyze the process also, brainstorm our causes. We need to check whether the probable causes are hampering our process or not. Depending on that, we need to have a priority matrix for the causes with respect to different charts. Let's example say Pareto chart, and develop a hypothesis to test whether our prediction is right or wrong, whether that particular factor has been hampering our process or not. So the total objective of this analyze phase is to find all possible causes, means not even a single possible or probable cause should get skipped in this process. All the probable causes should be listed out. Then the outcome of this particular phase will be the root cause, actual root cause, 1 or 2 root causes which are actually hampering our process or outcome. And then we need to solve the problem by acting against that root cause. So during the root cause analysis, first let's understand that immediate causes are not at all root causes, right? So immediate causes means operator error or failure to follow the procedures, or operator has not done the inspection, or gauge is not calibrated. So these kinds of causes are actually the results of the system failure, right? So we need to think about the system, making the system robust, not only related to these immediate causes, because these are not root causes, means contributing or acting on them will not give you the results. So considering these, what should be the actual YY analysis for the root cause? So whenever any kind of defect escapes from the process, we should be thinking about SIPOC as we discussed, supplier, input, process, output, and customer. In that process, we need to see where the actual occurrence is happening and from where it has been escaped. And for that, whenever if we see the problem triangle, there are 3 factors which are continuously working around the problem. One is symptom and cause. So whenever the cause is there should be different kinds of causes for that particular cause which works as a result, right? So for that, we should be asking why, continuously why to the particular that cause, so that we will be arriving at a root cause. And when can we identify it is a root cause or not? There should be 2 questions which we will be asking. First, do you or do we definitely have full control over the problem by attacking this root cause? And is this the logical chain of process events? If we are ensuring this is the logical chain of process, and if we are ensuring that attacking this root cause is actually hampering the problem statement, then we can consider that as a root cause. Then comes analyze phase. There is another tool which is a cause and effect diagram, which is a very powerful tool developed by the Kaoru Ishikawa of Japan, which is also called as a Ishikawa diagram or fishbone diagram. It is actually useful to identify all possible causes with respect to different M's of the process, right? So when actually to use the cause and effect diagram? So there are some guidelines to use cause and effect diagram or selecting a tool of cause and effect diagram for the problem solving, where we actually need to focus on the problem. We are having different kinds of probable causes out of it. Then to analyze the existing problem with respect to different factors, we can use cause and effect diagram. Also, there is a group participation from different team members. There is a brainstorming session, and each and every team member is identifying some kind of cause for the problem, and there is a continuous knowledge sharing between the team members. Then cause and effect diagram will help in a great manner. Then also it also identifies the area of further data collection, from where actually we need to capture the data, from where we need a sample large data space, or where we can have a minimal data, and then sort out the interactions among those factors to analyze the existing problem and come to the root cause. Then only cause and effect diagram will be helpful. And in cause and effect diagram, generally you can see here why it is called as a fishbone diagram also. As of now, there were only 4 M's related to process which were contributing to cause and effect diagram, which is man, machine, material, and method. But there are 2 also additional M's which helps in arriving at the probable causes, which is also a measurement and mother nature. Means only focusing on man, machine, method, and material is not sufficient at all. We need to also see the measurement, whether we are using the measuring equipment right or not, whether we are collecting the data right or not. And then also environmental factors also come into the picture in some cases, right? So these kinds of different sectors can be explored through fishbone or cause and effect diagram, which will give us the list of probable causes. And out of those probable causes, then we will be having a further analysis, which is a data driven analysis, to prioritize the causes to take action. And to prioritize that, there is a tool called Pareto Chart, which is actually a combination of line and bar graph, where the Pareto Chart is a sample document where you can see it shows us the frequency and the percentage contribution. And the major use of this Pareto Chart is to identify vital few from trivial many. Means attacking on only vital causes can give us the maximum results or outcomes. So identifying those vital causes, vital few causes, which are generally the 20% of total list of causes, which are contributing or affecting 80% of the outcome, is the purpose or major goal of Pareto Chart, which will help us to attack on the causes. Then comes improve phase. After considering and identifying the root cause, we need to take action upon it, right? So for that, we need to create a flow of the operation. We need to ensure the pokayokes or mistake proofings, and we can also use lean tools in between so that the sustenance can be ensured. So objective of improve phase is to determine the most suitable countermeasure on the root cause, which is actually contributing majorly to the process. And for that, the outcome will be containment action is still required or not. We need to check that. Then with the insight of root cause, the containment action as planned or not, then we also need to develop a plan for each cause for further improvement. So once the root cause is found through analyze phase, we are very clear with the corrective action, right? Means what we need to do to eliminate that. But the corrective action must address the root cause at any point of time. So for that, we can see one example. Here you can see one example that particular, this is related to some assembly process, that operator A is making an error in the assembly by using 18 mm long bolts instead of 16 mm, right? Means he need to use the 16 mm only during the process, which is a standard design, but by mistake he is using 18 mm long. That means 2 mm more long, having a more length. Due to this extra length, the assembly is having a short circuit, and due to that machine is stops working, right? And that failure is occurring more than once a week, and considering 3 shifts working, operator B and C is also making the same error. That means it is not related to operator, right? Because everyone is making the same mistake. But during the cause and effect analysis, which was a little bit superficial or not in depth, the probable causes identified are wrong material, labels, wrong method, and lack of attention. And due to the supervisor or superiors are in a hurry to close the problem, they identify lack of attention as the main cause or a root cause. Then that lack of attention, they warn the operators, they train them, and they thought that loop is closed. But the same problem again reoccurred because actually all causes were not addressed, right? Only having an operator problem or only having the user problem or user mistake is not actually the root cause. So instead of that, they dug the deep and they found that it is also very difficult to differentiate between those two different bolts because they are having very minimal difference in between them, and the label which is specifying the size of the bolts is also too small and not easy to read. So the actual corrective action should be to provide the lead on the container of those bolts with proper readable identification sticker, use different color pins for different types of bolts, right? Or to simply remove the 18 mm which is not required at all during that particular product's assembly. So this particular logical corrective action shows that we are thinking about making a system robust, not only blaming on the operator, not only blaming on the user. Making the system robust is the ultimate goal of Six Sigma. And
So,
this is that.
Mayur, I would want to come in here.
Yeah.
I understand that I might be breaking your flow, but
Yeah.
then on similar point that you are talking about, that it is the process and the system that we are talking about. There is one question in the chat box that I would want to take up, which is talking about, is Six Sigma helping organizations on improving performance with old and existing talent without replacement? Now, in here, we are not talking about the people or the employees. We are talking about improving the system, improving the process. So if we were to extend this further, you would need new technology. Another facet of that particular question is, can we continue with the same technology? If the technology or the system is capable enough of addressing the current market requirement, it should be good enough. You would need new technology only, or new addition of equipment only in two cases. Either where we are talking about it is the need of the market, need of the customer. For example, let's say currently I am producing round biscuits and I would want to produce square biscuit because that is the need of the market. Or let's say the current demand is 800 and my capacity is only 400. That is where you would need new technology or newer equipments or upgrade. But in here, if we are talking about the talent of the people, the current talent of the people should be good enough if we are able to develop a system, a standard, and then we are able to communicate that standard to all the team members effectively. So there are different tools available for that. So I think that is something that I wanted to come in because that was what Mayur touched upon. So Mayur, over to you. We can take up the next questions in due course.
Yes, thank you for the contribution, sir. So moving forward, we are talking about developing an improvement action, right? So as we discussed earlier, only giving warning or training to the employee is not actually the correct improvement action. It is actually a basic level improvement action. The improvement action or developing it and the thought process behind it must be advanced with respect to these steps. Means instead of warning and training employees, we should be developing an inspection. We should be talking about correction. If we are having corrective mechanism in place, then we should be talking about automatic detection, then redesigning the process service, and ultimate goal will be the Pokayoke or Jidoka. So what does actually Pokayoke means? Pokayoke is actually a mistake proofing. Means mistake, whenever the person is doing the activity, at any point of time, we are ensuring that even if that person wants to do the mistake, he will not be able to do the mistake. Designing a system with that aspect as a robust as that is actually ensuring the Pokayoke. And actually in day-to-day life, we are using that Pokayokes, right? Everyone is using mobile phones, and in mobile phones, you can see that SIM cards, whenever you are putting SIM card in a mobile phone, you cannot put it in a wrong manner. So mobile companies has been done that Pokayoke in such a manner that may it be any kind of customer, may it be a new customer also, he will not be able to do the mistake related to SIM card putting in the mobile phone. And then comes as a Jidoka, which is built-in quality, means making machine intelligent, which that particular machine or that equipment will be monitoring himself or itself and automatically giving us the triggers whether the process is in control or not, and accordingly work upon it, which is also a part of industry 4.02. Then in improve the foundation of all the improvement, foundation of all total productive maintenance, foundation of all total quality management, which is 5S plus safety. So in this, you can you may also know that in 5S there are 5 S's, which is Seiri, Siton, Seiso, Shiketsu, and Shitsuke, which are a Japanese word. And in English, it is a literal translation is sorting, systematic arrangement of the things in our workplace, shining and making workplace tidy and clean, standardizing the workplace with respect to people, and then sustaining it for a longer time, and doing all this in a safe manner is 5S plus safety, which ensures, first is ensures space saving, that means improved our work efficiency because of ample amount of space availability. Then with respect to systematic arrangement, we can actually reduce our search time, whether it may be a document stored in a piled up situation, or whether it may be a tool stored in a maintenance store, or whether it may be a product in a stores. Systematic arrangement always helps to reduce the search time and improves the response time to the customer. Then with respect to shine, we can have a healthy work environment and abnormalities can be visible. With standardization, that higher productivity and better quality can be ensured, and by sustenance, habit of doing right first time, RFT, can be ensured. Then comes control phase. Control phase is the last phase of the Six Sigma, which is actually focusing on sustaining the improvement for a longer time and ensuring the defect or the issue will not get repeated. So for that, there will be tools like process control plans, then monitoring and response plans, and then documentation of total project in a manner which will be readable and accessible to all stakeholders, even as a new team member also, so that they can be followed and sustenance can be ensured. So for that, there is a process called statistical process control. In that, where means what will be the decision factor to act upon, right? So whenever if we talk about any kind of process, for that process there will be input and output, as our SIPOC also says. So in that input and output, we always measure, we always control our input, which should be the high quality product or raw material for the process, and it should the output of that process should be monitored. So that input control and output monitoring is being done through control charts. So there are different control charts in Six Sigma or statistical process controls that helps us to monitor the process, the performance of the process. In that, decision factors comes that whether result is showing that process is in control or not. If process is in control, then we should continually follow the control charts, monitor them, and analyze whether process is in control or not. And if we see at any point of time, as we saw in measure phase and analyze phase, if process is out of control, then we need to investigate the root cause and act upon it, which will be the corrective action immediately impacting the process to give us the correct output or a desirable output. So considering this, in this control phase, we should be thinking about what we need to be measured, how we should measure it, by whom it will be measured, and what will be the frequency of measurement. We should be defining the acceptable and unacceptable limits also, depending on our process performance. And we should be also defining a process which should be followed if desirable output is not received. So defining all these steps comes into the control phase, which will be work as a standard operating procedure for further utilization. Then also comes, which is a lean tool, is OPL, 1 point lessons. 1 point lesson is actually a tool to communicate the knowledge and skill about the equipment. It also states the cases of the problems, what can be the situation if it goes wrong, and what should be the right situation. And it also shows us the cases of improvements also, means right condition. Here you can see one of the example of OPL, that what should be the not okay case, means removing the mandrel from the machine when the tape is already remaining on the pipe and pipe is not visible, then it actually is not a okay condition. We should be finishing the tape first and it should be then removed. So these kinds of OPL, which will be a knowledge sharing tool for all the users of the process, can be prepared and displayed on the process Gemba itself. Then comes as a visual management. So in this visual management, we always state one example. Everyone uses any railway station or airport, right? At any airport, whenever we goes to the airport, right from the main gate of the airport to the desired seat in our desired flight, we actually do not ask anyone. We do not need help or guidance from anyone. We actually carry on our own. Why it is happening or why it is possible? Because all sorts of information which is relevant, readable, accessible, and utilizable to us is displayed all across us. At every step, all the information is available for us to recognize it, right? And due to that, there will be no any kind of guidance needed to us. Same concept can be implemented at any workplace, whether it may be a manufacturing setup, whether it may be a farms, whether it may be a research lab, or whether it may be a service or banking segment. At any place, this visual management is applicable, where these kinds of steps are there for visual management, which we should ensure are there in our work area, which are related to title boards, instructions, standards, directions, identifications, monitorings, labels, tags, good practices, and posters and galleries of our products or services. So it actually helps us to support the improvement culture, sustain it, and allows us to see how our process or team is performing and how it is impacting our results, right? And then after doing all these comes the project closure and handover, which actually includes ensuring the robust process controls, means making the controls so robust that there should be no violation amongst it. Then handing it over to the process owners and stakeholders and taking a sign off from them. Then documenting that project in a structured manner, sharing the benefits and lessons learned to the team and stakeholders and leadership team. Also recording that project in the archives so that it can be referred in future at any point of time to any team member. Then having a meetups with sponsors or a closures, and then recognizing the team for their efforts and delivering the results. So this is actually a flavor of Six Sigma, how the journey happens, and accordingly the project gets concluded. So with respect to this, I conclude the presentation of Six Sigma. So we are open to question and answer. So over to you, Akash sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mayur, and thank you so much for that detailed curtain raiser, I would say detailed trailer of Six Sigma. So I think you can still have the screen on there if there are any questions relating to the point that you covered.
Okay.
However, when it comes to the questions, so there are a few questions that we'll try and address, and if there are any more that which are in the chat box, I would welcome all the questions that can be mentioned in the chat box. So one of the questions, I would say there are two of them which are around how can we grow the organization. So one question which talks about growth of pharmaceutical companies, the other which talks about how can Six Sigma help in order to grow market share in a competitive market. So I would say there are two ways to look at this particular question. When we are talking about this, one is of course Six Sigma helps the organization to be more quality conscious, and at the same time bring down the cost. Now, the moment we are talking about being quality conscious, as in offering quality products or services in the market at an affordable price point, automatically it helps the organization to be competitive in the market. Now, that is one way to look at it. And the second, if I look at it from a different perspective, these two questions, when we are talking about increasing the market share, how do we apply the philosophy of Six Sigma to increase the market share? Now, in here, it also gets into the details of identifying what could be the different market opportunities. So how do we apply this Dmac concept to getting into a situation where we define the situation correctly, where we define the opportunity correctly, identify what are the different areas where we can offer our product or service, and how do we apply this concept of Dmac or DFSS to reduce the time to market? Now, these are two different ways how we can look at these two questions. But then in a nutshell, if we were to look at as a philosophy, it can definitely help any organization to reach market sooner, better, at a better price point, and that's how be more competitive. Another question which I could see, I don't know if I missed out few, but then another question what I could see on the screen is talking about how do we apply Six Sigma in reduced demand for prescription medicine? Now, this is very interesting, very specific question, which is talking about reduced demand for prescription medicine. Now, this could be a very good opportunity where you can apply the philosophy of Dmac, where the definition of the problem is there, where you're talking about reduced demand of prescription medicine in what geography, at what was the earlier situation, what is the current situation. So if we are getting into that particular direction, we can define the problem very well. We can also define the market or the sample size or the population that you would want to study, and look at what could be the different reasons. So, and as Mayur said, the Dmac methodology can definitely be applied to this particular challenge which is mentioned currently. Mayur, you are also welcome to add more if you think that I'm missing out on any point. Now, there is one question. I'm just screening through the questions. There is one question which is talking about how inventory is a waste. Now, this is a very, very beautiful question, which is, I would say, at the heart of any improvement journey. Mayur, you would want to take that?
Yeah, sure, definitely. So here, first, I would like to say inventory means excess inventory is a waste. And why it is waste? Because see, at any point of time, if we are having inventory piled up in our stores, whether it may be a raw materials, whether it may be a WIP, work in process, or whether it may be finished goods, that inventory has cost associated with it, right? And depending on that cost, on a month-on-month basis, organizations or finance teams of that organizations give statements to their banks. And mind you that any inventory item is getting purchased by organizations by taking loans from the banks. So whenever we are purchasing item and storing it idle in our stores, it is having cost associated with it, and we are paying interest for that particular cost. So generally, whenever we are having any inventory of, let's say, 100 rupees, 18% of that cost, that means 18 rupees, is actually going into the interest, space occupancies, rent of the spaces, like that. And that 18% is actually a total cost loss to us. If we are building an inventory which is not getting consumed on time and it is getting piled up for a longer time duration, we are always giving 18% of that cost, 18 to 20% of that cost of inventory as a cost loss to our company. And that's why it is a waste. So here, I always want to say that inventory reduction should not be the target, because any organization cannot work at zero inventory level. That's why there is always a term called inventory optimization. in which we should always optimize the inventory by deciding what to store and what not to store and how much to store. And with there is a structured approach for this inventory optimization by which we can ensure that there should be no any kind of waste with respect to inventory.
Right, wonderful thought process, Mayur. And when we are talking about inventory, I understand that in the audience that we have few accounting professionals. And as Mayur was mentioning, inventory is looked upon as an asset. But when we are talking about improvement professionals, inventory is looked upon as a waste, as an inefficiency in the system. So in here, we are talking about why it is looked at as a waste, because inventory hides all the problems, all the challenges. So it is always recommended to work on optimum levels of inventory such that all the challenges keeps coming up. It's an opportunity for improvement for taking up Six Sigma projects. But at the same time, having an optimum inventory will help you reduce the working capital, reduce the cost, which directly impacts our profitability, and that particular percentage can vary from say 15 to 20% depending on where you are, which domain you are into. And I can see in the audience in the chat box, one of the things it is mentioning that it also value as in the value downgrades when we are talking about storing and hoarding inventory. So there are multiple facets of having excess inventory. So that is one aspect. The another set of questions which is coming up in terms of how can Six Sigma be applied to controlling the process. So that is where Mayur also touched upon different tools in the control phase. Once we have more time, when we get into the details of each and every step of Dmac, control phase has different tools that can be picked up. So it could be as simple as control chart, or it could be there is a long list of tools that can be picked up. But when we are talking about process, we are also getting into details of monitoring process stability. And that's where you have elements like CP and CPK values, what are generally calculated in terms of how stable my process is, what is the capability of the process, and accordingly you can control the process as well. So there is a very, very strong correlation when it comes to process control, as in monitoring the variability in the process via Six Sigma. Another thing that was touched upon in terms of how Six Sigma can be applied to data integrity. Now, when we are talking about data integrity or any process for that matter, any parameter that is very, very critical for the process, the foremost important thing is that how do we design the process? So how do we ensure that there is a foolproofing mechanism or Pokayoke systems being implemented at each and every step? Now, again, when we go into subject of Pokayoke, there are different stages where we can ensure that the process is leading towards foolproofing. One of the examples what Mayur mentioned was the mobile SIM card. Now, even if we want to insert it in the incorrect direction, that will not happen because it is designed in such a way. Now, this is one stage of Pokayoke foolproofing. There could be as simple Pokayokes available in terms of, let's say, I'm sure many of you would have observed the pull-push stickers on the door. Now, if I have to get into a situation even without having those pull-push indications, and still I follow that particular process, is like if I have to push and I don't put the handle on the door on the side that I have to push. Now, these are certain very crude examples that I'm putting across. Accordingly, when we are talking about designing a process, there are methods, there are tools where we can get into a situation that the process is in itself foolproof, and we take care of the data integrity aspect as well. So I hope we are trying to answer as many questions as possible which are appearing in the chat box. Please, Mayur, you can also add in if we are missing out on any question.
Yes.
Now, there is another question which is talking about how Six Sigma is going to help pharma companies to ensure success of product which are under development, as it is going to take minimum of 5 to 12 years. Now, this is a very, very peculiar, interesting question. So typically when we are talking about designing the process or designing the product, there is, even in quality world, there is a tool called as PFMEA, which is talking about failure mode effect analysis. So even before we design the product or process, there is a very, very structured approach through this PFMEA tool that we can address what all things can go wrong, and we can be very well prepared for that particular situation even before the product or the process is rolled out. So to answer your question, I think we can get into a situation where we can have a product or a process identified, what could go wrong maybe say 2 years, 5 years, or 15, 20 years down the line, and we can work on that particular situation even before that situation arises. So I would say, as a philosophy, it's a very, very robust philosophy, and under the umbrella of Six Sigma, you can have so many such projects which can be taken up. Any more questions that we are missing out on? How can Six Sigma help in supply chain to cope up with industry demand where there is scarcity of goods and supply? Okay, so now we can extend this to supply chains as well. And today we are living in such a world, whether you call it VUCA world or whether we are talking about say external factors like COVID, or say the disturbance that we are facing in the European and context currently. So when we are talking about applying concepts of Six Sigma to supply chain, I would say supply chain is a subject where we are talking about variability. Variability could be from demand per side or supply side, demand and supply, as we are talking about. Now, how do we address this variation at the demand side and supply side is a very beautiful subject that Faber Infinite has been addressing at several client locations to ensure that the service levels are met, but still at the same time, we are slowly and gradually reducing the levels of inventory. So now when we are talking about this, we take care of the variation at the demand side and the supply side with the help of safety stock and buffer stock. Pardon me if I'm getting into little technical here, but then when we are talking about safety stock and buffer stock, we can get into a situation where we have stocks to take care of variability up to 2 sigma levels, 3 sigma levels as well. Now, when I'm talking about such covering 2 sigma variation, 3 sigma variation, I'm talking about say 95% of the variability in the demand and supply side is taken care of. So I would say this particular concept, if thought through well, if we look at the challenge correctly, we can apply it to such scenarios as well. And it has already been applied. There are clients currently who are reaping benefits of reducing the inventory in the entire value chain to the tune of say 20-23%, which is worth billions of dollars, and that can definitely be applied. All right, wonderful. So any more questions that we have? How can Six Sigma help to fasten the product development time in R&D levels? So yeah, so that is where Mayur was talking about DFSS, design for Six Sigma. So DMA DV. So it's like, how do we ensure that the time to market or the product development time is taken care of? It's a very, very vast subject question to be addressed in one statement, if I were to say. But then if time to market or development time reduction is one of the challenge that we are looking at, and we can define the problem in such a way that where we look at what is the past experience, where we capture all the data, because what Mayur was mentioning is absolutely relevant here as well. We need to speak with the data, and it should not be a field-based thing. And when we are talking about data-driven approach in terms of what was the time to market in the past and what were the elements which led to increase in that particular time, and if we are able to address those particular points in the process, in the system itself, I'm sure it can reduce the development time as well. So for example, there was one very interesting, very simple yet interesting point which came up when I was discussing with one of the senior R&D professional. So it's like, if we invest good amount of time in having the research or the prerequisite research done as per the standard stipulated effort, it can reduce the development time, say by a few months by end of the process. Now, this may appear very simple as I am mentioning, but then when we are putting it into the system of the entire R&D process, it can yield benefits worth billions when the product goes into the market, when it is up for sales. How can we use Six Sigma in procurement process? And that is what I was referring. Where you were saying something?
Yeah. So for this particular question, can we use Six Sigma in procurement process? Yes, we can definitely use it. Means particularly for supply chain or procurement managers, Six Sigma is totally relevant in that particular business domain, because whenever in the procurement process, if we face any kind of difficulty or if we face any kind of barrier in throughout the process, that process need to be addressed in a quick manner, because there are different kinds of aspects associated with that process. Means if any kind of procurement process fails or gets delayed, there are subsequent processes which are waiting for that. And then for that procurement process, what is actually happening and going wrong with that process, and what is actually generating the issue in that particular domain, if we do not know exactly what is the root cause, then definitely Six Sigma is relevant for that. And using that Six Sigma approach, we can also reduce the number of invoice discrepancies, whether it is related to the invoice discrepancies, then with which we can also deal in a structured approach manner. We can also minimize the variation and defect and increase the efficiency of our customer delivery and our suppliers supply also. To reduce the variation from suppliers end in their products, we can work with our suppliers as a team, as a procurement team, and then we can use Six Sigma at their end to ensure their product gets delivered on time and ensure their product will be immediately ready to use. So in that manner, definitely Six Sigma can work in a procurement process also with respect to supplier and customer and internal customer as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mayur, to answer that one. Just to add on to what you have been mentioning, procurement process or the procurement function is key to the supply chain, and that is what I was referring when we are talking about taking care of variability at the demand side as well as the supply side. So where, of course, the first and foremost aim of the procurement function is to ensure that the production runs smoothly without any stockouts. And the second one comes in where we are talking about optimizing the inventory. So that's where it is very, very critical when we apply all of these concepts, and we at the same time simultaneously we take care of variability at the demand side as well as supply side. And that's where all of these concepts of just in time comes into picture, where we are not talking about zero inventory, but we are talking about that the inventory is available at the right time, in the right quantity, and of course at the right price. So it's a very beautiful concept, and the whole purpose of today's discussion was to basically introduce this concept of Six Sigma. I understand that many of the participants come from the background of Six Sigma and have several accolades and several belts under their name. So the whole purpose today was to introduce this concept, and we welcome, along with Mayur, myself, and the entire team at Faber Infinite, we welcome you to join hands and take up this quality initiative in your own life, whether that is personal life or professional life. And we would be very happy to join hands with you. If there are any areas that you think that we can work together, we would be very happy. And as I said, as I have been mentioning again and again, that this is a curtain raiser to the world of Six Sigma. There are many projects which can be taken up, many areas that can be addressed. So as Mayur was mentioning, that there are different belts, whether that is green belt, black belt, what you could take up for your own benefit, at the same time benefit of the organization as well. So we welcome all of you to this world of Six Sigma. If there are any further questions, any thoughts, any comments, we would be very happy to address. Our contact details are on the screen at any given point of time. If you think we would be coming in handy, please do drop a mail or message. We'll take it up from there. Good. So I see that there are no questions, no comments further. So we take a pause for the moment. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating from all different walks of life, different geographies. Sagar is saying that one more session on TPM. The point is noted. Our team will definitely get back to you with the next topic, and we'll take it up from there. So the whole idea is to touch upon different tools, different philosophies. So, and it's like no philosophy is absolute, and no philosophy is contradicting each other. Everybody's talking about continual improvement. So we'll definitely touch upon TPM in time to come. And for the moment, we take a pause. We look forward to interacting with all of you in the future. Thank you so much once again. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for spending time of weekend night or weekend evening with us.
Thank you.